Big Jim Jordan, man, welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you for having me.
Great
to be here.
I am excited about what we're going to talk about today because it's going to be all about me. Yeah.
It usually
I mean,
is.
why wouldn't you? Why are you here, right? Besides the flex, man. I feel like that I.
Should I go lower?
Go lower, yeah. Go.
Is that better?
There you go. Oh no, that's too high.
Come on.
I'm on the foot. I feel like I need to put myself on the phone book today. So, what are you running at today, man? You're 6'6". Are you cleaning at 260 right now?
I'm 6'6". Actually, I had a little hair under 6'6". I am 248 pounds.
248. That's
I
lean
was
for you.
265.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is lean for you, but your production and mortgage is not lean, and it hasn't been. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on today's show, because I've been watching you, and of course we're dear friends, and it just having you in my life is just, I'm beyond blessed. But
Likewise.
you see, can you say it again?
Likewise. Likewise.
But so your production is, you've been lifting every year. Of course, we've seen, in the mortgage industry, we've all done well the last couple of years, but you're going to clip out, between 74 and 78 million for 2022, which I think is fantastic. Last year,
Not sure how I did it.
I don't know how you did either. You have to have a great team. You have to
That's
have a great team
and
right?
systems, and that's
And
the one
systems.
thing I didn't need to do better at as far as systems are concerned.
Okay.
Versus just trying to wing it and just it seems to work out. But
Well, sometimes it does when you wing it. But imagine where you can go, and you're doing this right with your systems, and you're with a great team at First United Bank.
Absolutely.
And last year your production was very similar, upper 70s, and then the year before was in the 50s. Year before that, you're in the 30s and 40s.
Yep.
So, but you've been you've been originating since 2006. Is that right?
Got licensed officially in 04, started originating in 06. So I got my license, then I was trying to work with my ex-wife, Melissa Munch.
Okay.
And then I decided to go work with Ed Salter because he's a great mentor.
And get a little closer to the mic here real quick. There you go.
There you go.
And so Ed, let's back up, because people don't know who Melissa are and they don't know who Ed are, right? So Ed's always been a top producer. He's kind of like the godfather of mortgage for Austin, right? And he brought you in under his wings. Melissa, great guy.
Yeah.
Fantastic. We were just talking about him before the show. But Melissa's worked with him, and they're with Fairway.
They're both with Fairway together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Same branch.
Same branch. And they're just a 1-2 punch, and she's very, very good at what she does. She's highly competitive. I think he is as well.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how you got started in mortgage from title, and we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. We'll do a little regression. But on your production, I mean, it has been, that trajectory has been pretty steep the last couple of years. And I want to talk a little bit today about where you see that going 2023 forward, especially with the market having done what it's done, especially this year. But the fact that your production is similar to where it was during the refi boom, I think that says a lot, right? It says a lot about how you've maintained relationships with your realtors and your builders, but it's not just about, the refi business.
Right.
Okay, very good. And so you ended up becoming a Texas boy. You moved here from Delaware, right? Delaware, where? So what was that like for you? So you moved into Central Texas.
1992.
92.
Spring of 92.
Okay, very good. And you ended up going to college at the time. It was Southwest Texas State, and now it's Texas State.
Correct.
And then you ended up playing football there, walking on. Because you had a tennis background, you said you'd never really played football.
The funniest
before.
thing was you have the media guide. Each season the media guide comes out and highlights the players and the all state this and all state that, and they look at me and it's Jim Jordan 285,
and that was it.
Lettered in tennis, and they're like, what?
Runs a 4.6 60. Is that right?
I was 295, 290. I ran for the Vikings
Scouts. Okay.
4.6 flat 40.
Okay.
And
4.6 flat.
I would not try to do that today.
What would you run if you if you didn't pull a hammy?
Without tearing a ACL or whatever.
Were you about to say without carrying a gun? Is that what you're about to say?
No, without tearing my ACL or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh shoot. I don't know.
5'5". Depends on what we put in front of you, right?
Crazy.
Yeah. So again, I wanted you on because of that trajectory. There are other guys out there that close more volume, that have for years, that are, but you're getting there,
You mean
right?
you?
Yeah, me. I was waiting for you to say, I didn't want to have to say, like me, right? That are members,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
exactly.
But I think it's soon to be, you'll be part of the 100 million club, right?
I will.
And I know that that's one of the things that you're striving for, and we're going to talk about that today, of course. But I also want to learn a lot about who you were, who you are, and who you're going to be.
Hmm.
Not only as an originator, but as a
Yeah.
human being, right? As a
Sure.
dad, you're on your second marriage. It's going to be your
Hmm.
last marriage, right?
Certainly is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you've got and Katie's an amazing woman. I've had just the absolute pleasure of spending
Yeah.
quality time with her. Your daughter, Ella Grace, so who's a handful. We know that. But
Yep.
the second time around as a father, I want to hear a little bit about what you've done differently versus what you did
Mhm.
prior, what it's
Mhm.
like raising a child, with
Yeah.
both your ex-wife and yourself both being in mortgage and understanding what
Yeah.
what is required out of you. And then just really, I want to find out more about the people that you spend your quality time with. People that
Mhm.
help you be the better version of Jim Jordan,
Sure.
right? And so let's talk a little bit about that. So after college, you finish, you go to work for was it Dell Computers that you went, which of course at the time, when did you go to work for Dell? Well, you were
97.
97, but you were bouncing before that, right?
I was working on 6th Street and then stopped doing that, and then I was personal training at Future Firm,
Future
North
Firm.
Austin. And
That had a nickname that I don't know if we
Yeah.
can
but
call
it actually
what
was, it was actually a pivotal moment for me because that was right around the time my dad said,
That was
"Hey,"
a gym. That was a
my
gym.
dad's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you're off the payroll," and I took on every client I get my hand. I worked, 6 a.m. until midnight at Future Firm training. I was too paranoid to go back to my dad for money.
Okay.
And so I just made a point, I'm going to work my ass off and make something. And I made a hell of a living there. And then
Okay.
a bunch of my friends that all worked out there
Yeah.
that we used to party with on 6th Street and bounce,
Uh-huh.
also working at Dell, and said, "Hey, you got to come up here and do this." And so we're all in Dell home sales, with coolers and coolers of food and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I mean, being meatheads
Uh-huh.
typically,
Uh-huh.
but we killed it. I did great. My first year, I won the first sales trip,
Yep.
to Cancun.
At
We all
Dell?
took our moms,
And this is back what the when was that? Like
I'm sorry,
97,
I'm sorry,
98?
it was 98 actually.
98, okay.
Yeah.
And that was really when, now I remember that time when the Dell stock kept splitting and
Oh,
then would
yeah.
double and then would split
were-
and
we
double. Were
we
you
were
part of
all-
that
we were-
crew?
No, but I had 2 splits
Okay.
before, and that was over. Of course, we were all betting and gambling. Oh, I think they gave us 200 options when we first joined or
Yeah.
whatever. It's going to turn into this. It's going to split 7 more times, and
And that's
complete
what was
BS, but-
happening at the time, though, and that was the during that period of time, that was the incubation period of
Mhm.
really Austin becoming what it is today, especially
Mhm.
technology wise, and we know that Dell was on the forefront of that. But so you're with Dell, and then you ended up going into the title world.
Right.
Which I find interesting that you then morphed into mortgage from
Yeah.
there. But tell me a little bit about whenever you went into title. How long you did that for, and
So I left Dell in 99 or 99, and I went to a startup that lasted maybe 6 months, and that flopped, which was a great learning lesson.
okay.
And then I went to work at Vignette, and
Mhm.
we all sold
Then you
software.
had another technology company. here
Yeah,
in
that
town,
thing
yeah.
went, and I knew that thing was going to go kaplooey. It sure did. But
Because
I
of
didn't
you.
care. Yeah, because
Yeah.
of me. And a good friend of mine who's been a mentor my whole life, who's a commercial developer, I know him at Future Firm, and he says, "JJ, I'm gonna go open this title thing. My son's going to be the attorney, legalizing the fee office.
Mhm.
You need to come in as a partner and be the marketing guy."
Mhm.
And so I got in there with no experience. I just knew I had to go get realtors and lenders
Mhm.
to send me their title work,
Okay.
and we made the lion's share of that title premium.
Yeah.
And that's how I met Melissa Munch, who's my ex-wife.
Your
and
ex-wife.
good friend.
And Melissa, she's been a top performer in mortgage for many
She's
years.
a machine.
She's a machine,
phenomenal.
right? Like in some ways, too much of a machine, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we
But
were better off friends, but but we have a wonderful son together.
yeah,
Yeah,
which Alec is,
Alex is amazing.
he's an amazing kid, great golfer, great kid, very
Mhm.
studious. He has a golf scholarship.
He's on the Westlake golf team. He's a
Yep,
senior. He's
yep.
gonna he signed with Oklahoma City University,
Nice.
and he met the coach at a golf camp a couple years ago, and they just
Mhm.
really hit it off. And he stayed in touch with him, and he says, "Dad, that's where I want to go." And it's great. It's small classrooms.
Yep,
He's gonna have maximum play time.
yep,
It's it's not a D1 school. It's probably a D2 or D3,
yep,
but it's a
mhm.
top D2 or D3
Okay.
school.
And are they known for golf?
They're very well known for
Okay.
golf. Yeah.
And is his team still ranked number 1 in the country? I don't know. Not living here in the country, I don't know.
Yeah,
Westlake.
it's top 5. Let's just say
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And he loves that. So, and so y'all raised him with her being a working woman in mortgage.
Both of us, same
Both
way.
of you.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's turned out to be a great kid from a split family.
And I
How
was
did y'all
wor-
do that?
I was I was worried that was going to happen because when I was in the business, I was insecure as hell. I didn't
Yep.
really know what I was doing. I know I could
Mhm.
bring the business in, but I really didn't understand the process. And
Yeah.
and it's not that I didn't understand. I just chose not to really learn that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was more into myself, and Melissa was just crazy busy all the time. So I'm thinking, oh my God, we have a child together. How are we going to do this? What's he going to turn into? Of course, he's
Yeah.
the most amazing kid ever.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Is he
but-
yours? I mean, maybe
Yeah.
that's that could be.
Yeah. But
Maybe,
at the time, you're like, oh my God, how this is
Yeah.
crazy,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but
And then you go from then you did title. How did you transition from being part owner of the
Mhm.
title company of the fee office to then
Yeah.
going into mortgage?
well, I had a ownership share, so to speak, kind of off the record, but I mean, I had to.
Should we
I-
just not talk about
No,
it?
it's okay. But my understanding was it was a gray area to be a licensed professional and making money off mortgages and directing where your title work
Okay,
is going.
uh-huh.
And so I basically just bowed out of that whole deal.
Okay.
And Linda, who's like a mother to me, that was her baby. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go out and do some great things in mortgage.
Yeah.
I've made a nice little chunk of money in a couple of years I was with you guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to support you. Go do it. And
Yeah.
rest is history.
And so then you get in the mortgage in 06 leading up into, we have the crisis of 08. So it was tough sledding for many of us during that
Mhm.
time, but where was it that you felt like at what time that you felt like that you started to hit a groove as a mortgage lender on
When I started working with Ed Salter.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
And when was that?
I started working with him in 2006.
Okay. So
Yeah.
right out of the gate then.
Yeah.
And that was because your relationship with Melissa, you knew the
She was a great doer. She wasn't a great teacher.
uh-huh.
And she said, hey, go work with Ed.
Yeah.
And they used to date,
Yep.
but they dated, when she was 18, he was 33.
Okay.
So I'm not a jealous type person, so I didn't care. And
Yeah.
I really hit it off with Ed, and he's one
Yeah.
of my best friends as of today.
To this day, yeah.
And so, but
Yeah.
he's a great mentor. He really, I still regard him as probably one of the greatest loan officers out there as far as just his consulting ability, the way
Mm-hmm.
he can structure loans and explain it to customers. I've learned a lot from that guy.
So if you would consider him one of the best, who else might you consider?
I think you're one of the
Oh,
best.
there you go. Okay.
Ah.
Yeah, there you go.
I think my boss Brian Ezel is one of the best.
He
you know?
is. He is. And
Yeah.
and we all deliver our message differently, right? So Ed's message, you learned a lot from him, and then same thing.
He really taught me how to connect with the customers.
Okay.
And really, I drew a strong distinction between transaction type business versus relationship business.
Okay.
And you can do both and be maybe
Mhm.
successful in both, but
Yep.
the value to yourself personally comes from the relationship side.
Yeah.
And he really taught me. He would be behind. He said, Jimmy, when you're across from a customer, he would say, get up and walk around when you're trying to explain things and get down on a knee to the same level.
Okay.
He would do things like that.
But you would still be taller than them if
Yeah.
you did that.
But that's kind of how he is.
Okay.
And Brian Pratt, who works in our office, he used to be Ed's office as well.
That's right. He did.
And
Mhm.
it was a crack up every day. But
Mhm.
he really is. He's one of a kind.
Okay.
I love
Okay.
the guy.
So you consider him not only a mortgage mentor, but a life mentor.
Lifetime mentor,
Yeah.
lifetime friend.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
Okay. And he's such a neat guy. And the fact that he's still crushing it, he looks 38 and I don't know, was he low,
It's
mid
all those
60s?
hyperbaric chamber sessions he's doing.
He's the only guy I know that will take a loan app, in his hyperbaric,
Yeah.
chamber. Yeah.
He calls me from the hyperbaric all the time.
Hopefully there aren't any like static
here in a
electric.
cave,
I love that. So, but then you end up, did you transition from Fairway to First United?
Oh, let me back up here. So Um, so we were all brokers.
Mm-hmm.
Melissa was Monument Mortgage, Ed was Presidential, and I remember I was working with Ed, and he saw the writing on the wall that, hey, brokers, let's go the way of correspondent.
Yeah.
And Steve Jacobson from Fairway was in our office one day saying, hey, we're going to here, and I'm going to have a branch. And I was already divorced with Melissa
Yeah.
already, and we decided we're good friends. Let's work together and
Yep.
kill it.
Mm-hmm.
And we had our own branch, and that was back in 2009.
Okay.
When Fairway was doing $5 billion a year,
Okay,
versus 60 today.
So they're doing $60 billion.
Oh yeah, that's how much growth they've had.
Wow.
in 13, 14 years.
Okay, so he's basically a founding father here in town of Fairway. Okay, and he'll probably go to the grave with them. I mean, I know he's up on probably retiring here in a few years, but and I might imagine that there are probably some opportunities that we can talk a little bit about today that could be really juicy about.
Sure.
What does a loan officer do with their book of business when it's time for them to shut it down?
Kind of a sunset deal.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
And so when was it that you started with First United?
In March of 2019.
Okay, so you've been with them for over 3 years, 3.5 years.
Before that, I was with Fairway, and I bounced around because I love Ed to death, but sometimes we can't work together.
Yeah.
So I went over and worked with AJ Miller, who was also with Fairway. I brought him to Fairway.
Okay,
but we were at Supreme Lending for a while with John McClellan.
Yep.
And we were at Security National first, then Supreme Lending. And then it was not working out there for a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, let's look at Fairway.
Yeah.
And he had never thought about it. And to this day, it's like the best move he's ever made.
Okay.
And so I worked with him up until, it was like early spring or January, February of 2019. And the reason I left is I wanted to be at a bank where I could do one-time close construction.
Okay.
Portfolio.
And you couldn't do that at Fairway.
And I was getting so many referrals that I was sending to people like you or Blair, all the guys we all know.
Yep.
And I was like, I need to be in a place where I can do that business. And really, I went to First United by accident because Ryan James was leaving UFCU, and he goes, Jim, I'm leaving. I just talked to Brian Pratt. He's over there. Says it's really good. Go check it out.
Yeah.
And he calls me, hey, Jim, this is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll check it out too.
And
that's literally how it happened.
And maybe there's no there's no secret to the fact that that was kind of during the time when a lot of people chose to go with that group over there. And I give Azell a lot of credit for building the team that he has.
He's phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's the greatest boss I've ever had by far.
He's a great cook on top of that too.
And he's got me hooked on French wine.
I've got a story about his wine at one of his Christmas parties one year.
Okay.
Yeah, we're all over there for a Christmas party, and he's got this incredible wine room and where they have this amazing dinners and everything.
Yep.
He's showing. He's like, here's my, here's this Bordeaux and here's this, and here's my high dollar stuff. And he's got keys. He's like a janitor has his keys and stuff, right? And I go, and I was his top producer at the time, and I go, man, I sure would like to have a great bottle of wine. He goes, fantastic. He goes, I've got you one. So he takes me all the way down to the other end of the wine room.
See, if you're facing it, the right side is all the expensive stuff. So I always joke, hey, is this from the right side or the left side? The left side is still good.
I think he went left middle for me. Yeah. Then it was left out.
No, but he's done a phenomenal job. He's built a hell of a team over there. We've got David Madrano, we've got Sean Condon. They got me.
Who else? It's a great group, and for our audience that isn't necessarily familiar with First United, they're a Texas, actually an Oklahoma bank that has a huge presence in
Based
Texas.
Out of Durant, that's right. Greg Massey, Massey family,
and they've done fantastic jobs of growing not only the bank but also on the mortgage side. And when they brought Brian over, it just seemed like a windfall of top producers that y'all were able to get over there, and y'all are closing consistently north of $1 billion.
Just our group alone.
Just your group alone. That's amazing. And Sean, number one producer in Austin, David number two, and just the fact that the two of them are at the same outfit speaks volumes.
Yeah, and they're the greatest guys. I mean, what's fun is I actually office outside of Sean's office. I could be deemed his assistant. But I do it on purpose because Brian's next to him, so I like to hang out with the guys all day. I have my own office too, but I chose to be close to them because, frankly, I hear stuff Sean's talking about, and I learn things all day long hearing guys that are doing far more than I am.
So you're almost kind of like a fly on the wall, and you enjoy being in that environment, not only from the camaraderie part of it, but also just learning the ropes on how they would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my expertise in this business has exponentially grown since joining over there.
Okay.
And it has a lot to do with I got, Brian, assigned me Melissa Platt, who's my right hand, and she's become the most phenomenal person in my business life.
She's
ever.
your loan coordinator. Yeah.
Right. And that has transformed, I'll tell anybody anything, once you learn how to really know the process and now you start bringing in tons of business, you've got to have, the resources around you that are going to take care of.
You have to have the team.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And so, that's where things really took off for me. Having the products, construction, portfolio kind of stuff, not mainstream that everybody else is doing.
Yep.
And have the right systems and the right assistant that can really help, bring it to closing, bring happy customers to closing.
So you have, and you guys do have those niche products. You have the construction one-time close, which is a fantastic product. You also have a physician product.
Physician program.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then y'all will do, I know some other scenarios where maybe it's a jumbo or a super jumbo, and y'all may go off of DU findings. And if DU findings come back and say only 1 year tax return for someone who's self-employed,
that's exactly right.
That's really a rarity.
That's one of the advantages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then again, just being able to have the leadership that you have, not only from Brian, but also from the other leadership with mortgage. I know you've got your team out of Dallas now, Durant, but
it's a great group.
And now you, after making that transition, you are getting referrals from other lenders. Right. That can't do those in the eds of the world, that are doing I don't want to say the cookie cutter deals, but the non-niche deals. Right.
I need to do a better job of actually getting out to all the lender friends I have that are in the correspondent world. They don't have access to physician loans or construction products or whatever. I need to do a much better job.
You really do need to do a much better job at that. Yeah. I mean, to your point.
Yeah. Really well at that.
That's really, you and I refer business back and forth, and people within our sphere, and because I like the idea of being the yes person, and so do you. We clearly do. But when you can't be the yes person, who in your sphere do you want to kick it over to? Somebody within, your inner circle that that the client can trust. Yeah. And I love taking that business in because you've already set the foundation for me, right? And you're saying that you're not doing that well enough. So what is it that, you have your realtors that you're getting a lot of business from.
But
you
it's
have your builders.
Taking the time to go meet other lenders, reconnect with other lenders that you used to either work with or compete against, and go see them and say, hey, I do these things. Maybe there's some things that you do, like bank statement loans or things like that we don't do. Yep. And try to form I'll send you something, you send me something, and
you just it's keeping them within your sphere, and then same thing like we talk about, for example, your crew over at First United. Whenever y'all have a deal that you can't do and you kick it over me, I'm not going to go after that relationship that you have with your realtor.
I mean, the way to look at it is if you refer it out, you're doing it for because you want to take care of the customer, number one, and you want it done correctly and with somebody you can trust that's going to not tarnish what you have with that customer. And so I look at you or anybody else, Blair, whoever I send stuff to, they're an extension of me.
Yeah.
And so, to carry on that relationship.
Fair trade. It's fair trade, exactly. Right? But you are, I think, one of the things that I see that I really admire from you, Jim, that you are fantastic at is your realtor relationships, right? And you do a fantastic job of engaging the listing agent whenever one of your borrowers goes under contract. Tell me a little bit about that, how you handle that.
So I make a point on every transaction to reach out to that listing agent through all the key milestones throughout the process. And I've picked up 2 or 3 agents that are using me on a regular basis right now because of that.
Okay.
And so one of the strategies.
Are these milestones coming down from your system? Like you see a milestone?
Yeah. So for example, the appraisal's been ordered, the appraisal's been scheduled. Well, obviously the listing agent knows that because they're taking the call. But loans approved.
Yep.
Just look for reasons to reach out to that listing side because I guarantee you, and I asked them, they don't get calls from lenders hardly ever.
I don't do it I should.
Everybody's relying on like technology and stuff to send out the updates. Nothing beats.
Are you calling them?
Calling them,
okay,
or just as simple as a text.
Okay,
you can put a subject line in the text conversation and say update - name of the address of the property.
Yep.
Everything's great. this just came in, we're looking good, CD's going out, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know,
And then at what
they
point
love
do
it.
you reach out and ask for the business from them?
At the very end.
Wait until you get it closed down.
Yeah, make sure it's
Right,
closed. And then
yeah.
the key thing is to, if they want, if they're not going to see you, email or quick call. By the way, I also do these things in addition to this normal purchase. thing
Yard
we just
work,
did.
pull
Yard
weeds,
work.
plant,
Yeah,
and take
yeah.
kids to school.
Yeah, but I mean, it's if you don't tell people what else you do,
Yeah.
and by the way, I'd love to work with you,
Mm-hmm.
then you're just betting that they're going to just, and I've of course gotten deals where I haven't said anything.
Right,
But hey,
right.
Jim, you did such a great job. Here, I want you to help this.
Well, the
buyer of
opportunity
mine.
increases
Well,
exponentially. Yeah.
So that's a big strategy of mine. Is
Mhm.
that, is even if, any deal that comes in, if you close it, great. If you don't close it, that's also great.
Right.
If you have done a good job with that customer, you've either helped direct it where he needs to go
Yep.
to get done,
Yep.
and you've established, hey, I want to be your point person.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
the way I work is I want to be the call first. Call Jim first.
Okay.
Joe Longton's a great example. He'll say,
Who,
call
by the
Jim
way, is a
Jordan.
great realtor
He's a
in
great
town.
realtor.
Yeah.
But they call me first. If Jim can't do it, he knows where to go. He'll
Yep.
manage the process.
Mhm.
And I think it's more important to be the first call. You're not going to get every loan.
Right.
But if you have a network of trusted professionals like
Yep.
yourself
Mhm.
that can take that and not mess up your relationship,
Yep.
then you've won. Because I don't think it's the loans come. If it's really the amount of relationships. If you can get more and more people out there that you're the first call, even though you're not going to get every deal,
Yeah.
you're going to get way more referrals.
Yeah, you are. And they're gonna respect you too.
All right.
Yeah.
And
on
it
how you
feels
handle
good.
business. It feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that you like to feel good.
It feels good for your soul.
How do you feel now right now? How do you feel?
I feel great.
Yeah?
This is my first podcast, by the way.
Is this your first
Yeah.
podcast? We'll be
I'm
gentle
just
on
trying to
you.
get my back straight.
I thought you were doing that so that you could sit up taller than me.
I'm just trying
Making my back hurt.
Good posture is important.
It is important. So let's touch on that actually. So physical fitness for you, I know is incredibly important for you.
Yeah.
Is that something that you've had instilled since you were young? What is
Yes.
it that's the driving force on why you continue to do that?
So I was in high school in Rochester Hills, Michigan. I was partying and hanging out with really bad but popular kids, getting in a lot of trouble.
Like right now
And
in Austin.
got arrested doing mischievous things, and then
Mhm.
my mom made me get a job at the grocery store across the street.
Okay.
I met a fellow named John Tony who was a total musclehead. I'm like, I want to look like that,
Okay.
and I started.
Were
working
you
out.
you tall? I mean, were you always?
I was getting
lean?
tall. I was
okay.
like 6'2".
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I wanted to. I said, I want to look like that. And then
Yep.
I started working out, hanging out. Ended up changing to a private school where he was going because I became friends with him and all of his other friends. And that was actually a great move because it totally got me in a the fitness part became such a huge thing. It really got me straight.
Yeah.
In terms of other areas of my life.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's the best thing ever. I can tell you now at almost 50, lifting and all the stuff I was doing all these years, I'm paying for it with, so now it's
'Cause you did
now
heavy
it's-
lifting.
Now
Yep.
it's repair everything,
Yeah.
and then don't repeat, what you've been
Mhm,
doing, and
mhm.
don't tear your body down, so you can maintain an appropriate physique as you age.
Mhm. Well, and truth be told, your physique is phenomenal. I know that, you know that, but I'm telling you, it doesn't just happen. You have guys in your spirit, or I do, that you slap them on the back, give them a hug, and you're like, oh, that's a man right there.
Right.
And so if I embrace you just a little too long, longer than I should, sometimes just know that's because I'm admiring it. But you played tennis, right? So you had
I was a
some
big tennis
agility.
player.
Yeah. Well, I know
I still
you're
play.
big. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're still playing, but
Rarely now, but
okay. Well, and it's tough on the knees, and
I
yeah,
got a broken toe still, and
and your toes. You have long toes. I've seen those toes
Yeah.
of yours. You could hold a door open with one of those. So, but even still, that agility, in playing high school and then eventually college sports,
Mhm.
for you, that competitive nature that you had. Walk me through that. Was that is that integral in your business life and your being a salesman? Whether it was tennis, whether it was weightlifting, whether it was football.
Absolutely, because it's all about working towards a goal. If you
Yeah.
have a fitness goal, there's a lot of work that goes into it. There's the diet, there's the training, there's the recovery,
Mm-hmm.
and so it all applies in, what you're doing with your life.
Yeah.
And making the right healthy choices.
Do you consider yourself ultra competitive?
No,
No,
I'm not as.
which I find interesting on that.
That's the difference. I look at you and Sean and David. Always. You guys are super competitive. Whatever. I've really never been like that. And my whole I don't know. My whole thing is more just get out there and just meet people. Everybody likes you. Be friendly to
Mhm.
everybody. I'm not. I don't talk bad about other producers or whatever. Oh, he's great or whatever.
Mhm.
You know, and that works for me.
Okay.
You know,
What about in
I'm still competitive. I just don't
yeah.
have that. Like
Yeah. Well,
you beat me this month or whatever.
and I've had that through the years,
Yeah.
so that's been one of my driving forces. But
Mhm.
to your point, where I am in my career, where I am in my life,
Mhm.
I've pulled back on that mindset of I don't want to lose to this guy. And in turn, what I've done is said, hey, I lost to this guy. Which if you look at it from
Right.
that standpoint, you go, you know what? At least he's in my spirit.
But more importantly, like you just said, you might have lost to him.
Yep.
And I've lost deals to other people that, I won't say names or
Yep.
whatever, but I know they'll still come back to me first. And even if you lose a deal, you still didn't lose the relate. You still didn't lose. You
Yeah.
might have lost that transaction, but big deal.
Well, and it's maybe not so much that you lost, but they won, right?
Right.
Just having that mindset, and again,
Yeah.
just
Be happy for 'em.
hoping that hey, if somebody, because in our worlds when we're dealing with niche products and the loan sizes that
Yeah.
we're working, you're bound to bump up against 5 or 6 of your
Yeah.
normal guys and gals
Right.
that we compete with.
But hence the mentality should be go out there and get a ton more people out there throwing your names out.
Yep.
You're going to get more loans than you're going to want to do anyway, and you're going to lose a handful, and you're not going to care.
Yep.
So to me, it's like focus on that and creating more call Jim first situations and people. And
My
then
mindset has always been call Jim second.
Nah.
That might be one of the few things I disagree with you on. But being second, what they say in
Nothing wrong with silver.
Talladega Nights.
Ain't nothing wrong with silver.
Oh,
And I love you.
Yeah. So speaking of that, man, let's talk a little bit about. You had a period of time where, and don't ask me why I shifted this, but I was just thinking about, you have to be at a high level almost, it just seems like, especially the last couple of years in our world, you're just going and just grinding. You had a stint with Adderall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So where it had a hold of you. And
Big time, for
yeah,
years.
so walk me through that. When did you, from a vice standpoint?
Well, my doctor prescribed it for anxiety. Probably within 5 years before I had an issue with it.
Okay.
For my
And when was
brain.
this roughly?
Oh, 2005 or whatever.
Okay.
And the stuff worked or whatever, but I didn't have. I still didn't have, even though I had it, I didn't take more than my prescribed amount or whatever.
Yeah.
But I will say this: when you go through a traumatic situation like a divorce and it's crazy, and and we're both immature on both sides or whatever, you start looking for relief from the pain, and my thing was I started popping those Adderalls and partying with friends on the weekend, drinking and stuff, and next thing you know, I'm like, I don't feel normal without this.
Okay.
And it became something that of course, you build your tolerance up, and then you take more and more, and you run out and you go find more.
Yep.
And next thing you know, like, I can't get off this stuff.
And so when did you go through divorce? When was that?
2007.
Okay. So you start to get on this in 2005. Was it more
But
focus related?
But it became a problem probably in 2012.
Okay.
you
Okay.
know?
So a few years after that. Then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, that's the divorce was 07, but there was a lot of my ex and I kind of at each other and disagreements and stuff, and just it built.
It was
up
just an
over,
escape to a degree.
It's escape, yeah.
Okay. And then when did you remarry with Katie? When did y'all remarry?
2017.
Okay. So you had a window there, right?
Yeah.
You had a window there with it. You were just
And I met her unfortunately when I was still hung up on that stuff.
okay.
And honestly, I don't think I would be where I'm at sober from that nonsense. It wasn't for her.
Okay.
Having a stable person in your life that really loves you and is there for you. That was huge for me.
So how did you overcome that? Right? At what point did you? And you said that she was there to help you, but
Started getting heart tachycardia, whatever it's called, and shocks, and I was like, "What is going on here?" And and that fear of death of what I've done to myself, that was a major motivating thing.
okay.
And it was so, anti what I'm about as far as health and fitness. So and what's crazy is you're hooked on it, and you're a fitness guy and you're like, I can't believe I'm actually hooked on. I mean, Jim Jordan,
Yep.
Mr. Fitness guy.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. That stuff all should be banned. It's unbelievable.
And now they're lacing, fentanyl, that's the big.
40% of all the pills coming across the border are have lethal doses of fentanyl.
Is that right?
There's no quality control with that shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's not. I mean, it's coming, illegally over the border. So of course that's the case. What about other? I don't want to say vices, but let's say other vices that you've struggled with over the years to become the better version of yourself.
I would say the biggest vice was not believing in yourself.
Okay.
And constantly awfulizing on it, and almost like using the negative energy as motivation, as a driving force. You can go after and do well and perform, but you could also make yourself miserable the entire time.
Okay.
And I chose kind of more of that path, self-destructive kind of path. Not
you went down that road for a period of time?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
When was the divorce a key ingredient to that, or no?
I'll be honest with you. I probably came out of that dark part of my life probably 3 years ago.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we started becoming, closer friends.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, within the past 3 to 5 years, but I'm just trying to think when that was, because when we started hanging out and spending more time together, you weren't dark. Were you just I'm
a good actor.
Yeah. Well, you're a great loan officer, great loan officer, good actor. Yeah. Moderate lover.
Mm-hmm. Moderate lover.
Fair to moderate. But it's just been of recent times. Now, one of, if not your best friend in the world, passed away too through all of this.
Frank.
Yeah.
And he had an injury, got hung up on pain pills.
Yep.
Started, getting counterfeit stuff because he wouldn't get doctor wouldn't prescribe more, and it just
he got a bad dose of something. Okay. And when was that?
That happened 3 years ago this January.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So at some point you decided to make a
that
shift.
was very motivating. Seeing, when you finally lose somebody who's so close you've known since you were 17, 16 years old.
Yeah.
And that person is no longer here, and you know why, and you're like, wait, what am I doing?
Yep.
Still dabbling in this and that every now and then, partying, and and that.
Enough of that, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, and what are you? You're 50 or 51? I'm trying.
49.
49. Okay. When do you turn 50?
April.
So it's right around the corner. I gotta make a note to
10th.
I gotta be in the States for that.
We're still trying to figure out what
we're gonna have an Adderall party.
Oh, that stuff is awful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's just everybody's full of shit. I mean, you can go get a prescription for that nonsense all day long.
Yeah.
And lie your ass off to a doctor and they'll write you a script.
They will for that. Incredible. It's incredible.
And if you don't have ADD, which most people don't, it makes you ADD.
Yeah.
So
I took it for a period of time, man, and because I thought that in our world, you almost I would commend myself for being partially ADD, because I was like, that's how I'm able to accomplish everything that I do, because no, that's not true. I'm giving 10% of this and 8% of that and 12% of that, and then all of a sudden I'm not coming up with 100% of what I need to accomplish, right? But whenever I was taking the Adderall, man, I will agree with you. I was like, whoa, I can focus, or I feel really
but it's
good.
A facade.
Yes.
You think you are, but it actually makes you worse.
And I guess I understood that or recognized that.
You try to do a bunch of different things at one time, but you're really not moving the needle on anything.
Right? Yeah.
You just think you are.
You think you are. Okay.
Right. And
we moving in it like
you feel like life's great, and and you keep chasing. That's the problem. You keep chasing that emotion because it gives you this euphoria about life is so great, and oh my gosh, I love everybody.
Well, and I knew
don't
I was like,
folks.
well, yeah, don't do it. But I was like, I knew when I was young, I was like, man, I'm better than this, or I feel like I can be, and maybe I can find some other areas. And so that's whenever I really started going into more spirituality and more meditation. And I know that's something that's important to you as well.
It is. I don't meditate regularly. I've done it a few times. I did it twice when Ella Grace was born, and we were so just bloody exhausted from her sleep schedule. And I did it for like 30 minutes with the noise canceling headphones on, the ones that you bought.
The ones that,
I can't tell you how amazing I felt.
And
And to
what
this
the
day,
hell?
why am I not doing it today?
Why are you not
Because
doing
I'm
it?
not disciplined for it.
What are you disciplined for?
Well, as far as
Anything. Just throw them out there. I mean,
Well,
obviously
I'm
with your
disciplined on
workout
going to
routine.
bed on time. I'm
Okay.
disciplined as far as getting my quality sleep. You
Yep.
know, Katie's got us on, tart cherry juice that you take at night. It helps you get ready for sleep.
Okay.
Valerian. We have a whole thing that we do every night.
Yeah.
We get in bed at the right time, unless Ellie Grace is driving us crazy. And so
What time do y'all go to bed?
8th.
Generally.
I'm in bed by 8:45.
Okay.
And then we're watching Netflix for a few, and then
Okay.
But I would think that's
What time do you get up?
up by 5 a.m.
Okay.
at the
Very
gym,
similar.
at the gym at 5:45. And,
Okay. Well,
you know,
you're one of the few guys that I will send a text to at 5 something, whenever I'm
Yeah.
up and rocking. But our sleep schedules are very
Yeah.
similar because
But
same for me.
But you got to get the quality sleep and
Yep.
then get your workout in first before the phones start ringing. I mean,
Yeah.
ever since I reconnected with a buddy of mine known for 30 years, and we start working out at Belterra Golds and in the morning early. And it's the greatest because my phone's not going off. I'm not looking at
Mhm.
emails. I'm not thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I get a great workout in. I come back. I still have time with coffee and think about my day, take Ellie Grace to school, and then I
Mhm.
can go right to the office and then boom.
How many hours are you throwing in with work on a normal day? What's the
So
normal day look like?
truthfully, I would say when I'm at, I would say this is probably true for most people that are producers. If you really want to be honest with yourself, probably 2 to 3 hours a day of actual quality. You're calling a referral source, you're
Mhm.
setting up an appointment, you're updating your current clients with files in process or whatever. The rest is just a bunch of BS.
Yeah.
Office talk or whatever. And so I'm working on trying to expand. Like, what if I did 4 hours a day, but it was 4 quality
Mhm.
hours?
Mhm.
And I mean, personal notes, setting up appointment.
Mhm.
Figure out what's your strategy for those 4 hours every
Mhm.
single day, and then
Mhm.
you write it out
Yep.
and execute on it.
So are you not so what I'm hearing you say is that you're dedicating call it 2 to 3 hours a day of
Of accumulated time.
Okay.
As far as quality work, it's probably 2 or 3. The rest is a bunch of bullshit.
Are those blocked out or are you just
No.
catching it in waves? Okay.
No.
Yeah, and and they say, and I've done this of recent where
Mhm.
I have what I call my marketing hours, two
Mhm.
times a day,
Yeah.
between 11 and 12,
Yeah.
and then again between, and I'm just
Yeah.
trying to think of East Coast time and Central time, but between 10 and 11 Central and 2 to 3 Central, which ends
So I'll
up
tell you
being,
something funny.
yeah,
Knowing I was coming up here today, I actually got on my CRM for the first time. I started inputting in, I got these realtors that are thanking me for, happy to work on this contract with you and the
Yeah.
listing side or whatever. Now I'm entering them into the CRM.
Uh-huh.
It's like knowing I was coming here motivated me to, hey, if you're going to talk about this stuff, you got to
Yep.
be doing it.
Yep, you got to
know?
back it up, man.
That's right.
And especially if you're going to want to build that, build that book, right?
Right.
Build upon what you've already.
But what I'm really building is peace of mind,
Yeah.
and it's
Peace of mind in what way?
peace of mind where you have a predictable business
Mm-hmm.
that you can actually look at the amount of referral sources you have and be able to predict
Mm-hmm.
based on if you have consistent activity. You can get to a point where you can kind of predict the kind of volume you're going to probably
Okay.
do that month
Mhm.
or the months ahead or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
And that creates a lot of stability at home in terms of, okay, I'm financially secure. I got plenty of money in the bank and I
Mhm.
have a system in place that's going to secure a consistent level of income,
Yeah.
and of course I don't live a high lifestyle, so I don't have a huge burn rate. So
Mhm. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. You're about to be 50. How many years you think you have left in this crazy industry of ours, if
So-
you had the choice?
like I was saying to you, I think I want to say I've got 10 years left to
Okay.
make the number,
Okay.
whatever that is, and I'm still trying to figure out what that needs to be.
If somebody put a knife to your belly and said, "Tell me the number,"
A net worth of 4 million.
4 million?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you want to look at it and say, okay, 10 years from now, that's where
Yeah.
I want to be.
Yeah, I base that on what is my lifestyle going to be? How many trips a year?
Yeah.
What are the things that we're doing now?
Yeah.
And what's great is when you actually get to that realization of, okay, I don't need as much money as, to do what I want. I know I want to do.
Uh-huh.
Then you can scale it down to a number that seems to be less daunting.
Okay.
Before it was like, I got to have 20 million in the bank or I'm going to be miserable.
So you
Well,
did have that mindset before?
Sure.
Okay.
And the reason I did is I was seeing Ed Salter making 200 grand a month back
Yeah.
in the broker days, and
Uh-huh.
even and Melissa doing the same thing. I'm like, holy shit, I want to go do that.
Yeah.
And I realized, well, when I got into the business, that was the mindset.
Okay.
is I want to make all this money.
Because that was part of the driving
And
force.
that might work for a lot of people, but I'm
Yeah.
not wired that way.
Okay.
I need to find significance in the work.
Okay.
And what's funny is now, after 3.5 years, or yeah, 3.5 years at First United, and really creating a stable, predictable business with great systems, I realized that I really love the work.
Okay.
I love it.
Which is
It's
to a degree, it's somewhat
Yeah.
unique. A lot of loan officers will tell you, including myself, where
Yeah.
I'm like, I love it and I hate it. I love it. I hate
Well,
it.
it's almost like therapy to me because you always connect you meet awesome people all the time
Yeah.
that you can
That are
hang out with,
thrown
and you
into your
make,
life.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you make,
Hmm.
this is their lives, and like
Yep.
it really matters how you treat them and what you do during the process because it really affects them and their family.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's kind of a classic response as far as why we do what we do, but truly that actually what is therapy for me. That's actually me recovering from years of being pretty dark and
Okay.
just hiding it.
Yeah. Okay.
And I would assume there's a lot of people out there that, that kind of go through the same kind of situation where they put on a happy face every day, but they're miserable inside. And you got to look at
Or
why am
maybe
I
not
miserable?
fully fulfilled,
Yeah.
right.
But I mean, for me, it's I was holed up, isolated all
Hmm.
those years, especially hung up on that
Hmm.
Adderall stuff.
Okay.
And you're texting people all day long, but you're not
Yeah.
connecting with
Right.
anybody.
Right. Right.
You know?
So you're more intentional with those
Yeah.
actions now. So,
So the reason I'm even doing so much better in my work is because I really care about making
and
that
it
connection.
resonates. People,
Yeah,
people sense
it
that.
makes you better.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So if we say 10 years from now, because I believe this is to be determined, but I think it's going to be the case. Let's make the assumption that $4 million in today's money is worth $2.5 million in money, in the value of money 10 years from now. Would that change your mindset? I mean, that because you're seeing it
Yeah.
in $4 million today's money, but $4 million from
As far as purchasing
buying
power or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. I mean, inflation's a
Well,
perfect example.
Right. The answer is, well, I'll have to reassess that, and get a, quite possibly I'll have to up the number,
Uh-huh. And I think that's
Yeah.
I mean, that's something at least worth having on the table,
Yeah.
And so let me ask you then, and I know I'm diving into this, but I think there's a lot of value to it in that you say that, well, maybe I'll have to reassess it then. But I think that the reality is that we go, it's most likely, from inflation, from whatever, uh, the value of money is not going to be quite the same. So do you start transitioning that mindset sooner than later, or do you wait
think
until you get to that end game and go,
you transition it sooner.
yeah,
But I think the most important thing is you control your lifestyle and your burn rate.
yeah,
And
which you're really good at
our
that, by
monthly
the way.
housing expense, including food and everything, and not going out here and there, is well under 10,000 a month.
Okay, that's
Like
your
maybe
net.
make like 6 to 7,000. That's mortgage, utilities, food, clothes for Ella Grace.
That's what's
babysitters.
burning out of your checking account every month, which
Yeah,
is
we've added it up.
okay.
And that's a really nice sustainable burn rate.
That is,
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, I would say, that's actually fantastic.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and Mama works, right, and she's got a great job.
She
and
had a great job.
Yep. And so, what's her intention?
What we're thinking about is when Ella Grace becomes a teenager. That's really the more critical.
Is she 4 yet? She's 4.
She's 5.
She's 5. Okay.
That's the real critical years where if parents are both working and they're not around, that's where the kids really tend to go in the wrong direction.
Okay.
So we're thinking that she will probably work until Ella's 12.
Okay.
And
So
then
7 more years.
bow out.
Okay.
And I'm going to probably. I mean, even though I say 60, it's more just I've got to make my number by 60. I'm probably going to work till I'm 70.
Yeah.
'cause,
Yeah. What else you gonna do? Right? Just be
I
in
don't
the
play
gym
golf,
all day.
Maybe I'll play a little bit with my son or whatever. No, but I mean, I think you got to have productive things to do every day, and
Yeah.
yard work and gardening only goes so far. You can travel a ton, but you're gonna get sick of that. I think you got to have sort of a routine where you're contributing to the marketplace. You're
Yep.
contributing to society in some way.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so with that, you've got so many of our friends, and even I'm guilty of this to a degree. Although I've always I've always what I felt like lived below my means.
Mhm.
Right. I've done really well in our
You have.
industry, and last few years have been just insane for all of us. And you put that money into different investment streams, and then you hope that it grows, and you hope that 10
Yeah.
years from now you look up and it's
Yeah.
doubled or tripled. Right.
Yeah.
But many of us get caught up in not so much competing against others, but just, wanting to see that bank account grow, right?
Sure.
How do you overcome that, right? From a balancing standpoint.
In terms of like, as far as getting upset because it's not where I want it to be,
Yeah,
or
maybe, yeah, for example, you're like or just choosing where it's not where you want it to be,
yeah,
or not getting discouraged with the fact that the people, you're outside of Sean's or David's office and you're seeing
yeah.
that they're
See,
crushing it.
that's envy, and I listened to a thing on Charlie Munger,
Uh-huh, yeah, of
Warren
course.
Buffett's
Mhm,
right hand. I saw it like last week, and he said the problem is not greed, it's envy in this
mhm,
world, and
mhm.
being envious of what other people have, and seeing, that's a danger of social media. You look at the stuff, and even if you're looking at it, you're kind of smiling.
Yeah,
There's a subconscious thing going on where you're being left out, and they're having more fun. The perception is they're having more fun than you are, or whatever. I think the envy part. I don't really have the envy part.
yeah,
I I'm at a place where I have a nice pile of money in the bank. I've got no debt,
mhm.
and that's like the biggest checkbox for me because
It
I have
takes a
a
lot of stress off.
because being in coaching and with Buffini for
Uh-huh,
years, you got to reach a place of stability.
mhm,
And once you reach a solid place of stability and you've got a good systems and whatever you're doing, then you can go for the next level, which is significance.
mhm.
And so now I'm in the pursuit of that. I know I
You're
can
in you're in pursuit of significance,
significance.
okay.
Yeah.
And I might argue that, to your point, the envy part of it, that is actually probably a high percentage of those
Hmm.
that look at it and go and they're envious. And then you have some others that use that as a driving force,
Right.
right? Of, okay, if they can do it, I can do it,
Sure.
right? And so I think there is a fine line with that. And then that goes back to that competitive
I
spirit.
think I think you can use it as a motivating factor as long as you don't make that your identity.
Yep. Okay.
You know, and
Yep.
and I can certainly say that for a long time it was like be as big as you can possibly be and make as
Mm-hmm.
much money, and like your whole identity is built around fleeting things
Mm-hmm.
because you can't stay big all pumped up forever. Your joints are going to give out.
Yep.
You're going to age. Win some money, lose some. Looks go away.
Mm-hmm.
So
Which yours clearly have.
right,
So
the
look what you're doing.
the skin products aren't working. No,
So
but I think that's the one thing is why to give people a lesson here. Why was I made myself so miserable? Because I was caught up. I was hanging out with the wrong people,
mhm,
bad influences, people that are all caught up in what other people are doing, envious of everybody, and negative thinking.
uh-huh.
And
And once you pivoted from that, you felt like that kinda like that, not an aha moment, but
Mhm.
aha period
Yeah.
of time made a big difference
Yeah,
for you.
you got to be okay with, and I'm 100% okay with exactly where I'm at. There's people out there that are doing way more volume than me, and I'm
Mhm.
like,
Well, me.
good, you, congratulations. No, it's hard work to do all that,
Well,
but
and
I'm at a level that I never thought I would ever get to.
yeah.
I used to think, God, if I can just have a paycheck of 50,000 one month. Well, hell, I've had a ton of those. I've had over $100,000 paychecks.
Yeah.
And
And
what's
how does
interesting,
that feel? Isn't that
it,
isn't
it
that a
feel it
great
feel
feeling?
it feels great, but what's
For a
interesting
moment.
is as soon as you solve the stability
Yeah.
issue in your life
Yeah.
where you don't have enough money just to be stable,
Uh-huh.
once you check that off, what's interesting is you're glad for the checks,
Yeah.
but it doesn't
It's a milestone.
it's a milestone,
Yeah.
but you're more into the relationships you have that help create that on a
Yeah.
consistent
And
basis.
appreciative for
And you
that.
focus
Yeah.
on those things. That's where the
Yeah.
joy is.
Yeah. And then, yeah, to that point,
Mhm.
the paycheck ends up being a residual of the efforts, right? And of the relationship
That's a
building.
derivative of
Mhm.
that's a good way to measure,
Mhm.
okay, this is
Mhm.
really working.
Yep.
Here's proof.
The input and then the
Right.
output, right?
Yeah.
And same for me, like there were forever I was like, oh man, I just couldn't get to $1 million
Yeah.
in income, right?
Yeah.
And then you hit it and then you're like, okay, now I want to for me it was like, okay, I hit it. Now that's my expectation. Now I want to blow past it. And then you
Sure.
want to go 1,500,000 or whatever it might be north of that. And you
What
go
was your best year? A million, I think 1,800,000
in
last year?
mortgage
You had
for
a
income.
crazy
Yeah,
year.
yeah, it was close to 2.
That's
And then
awesome.
and then you have
27.
and then but then you also I have the other endeavors, investments in other areas, whether it's
No,
real
you've
estate
done
related
really
and
well
all
with
that.
that.
Right.
That's probably the next thing I will work on is
Yeah.
now that I've got plenty of money in the bank,
Yep.
it's consistently coming in. Now let's start investing, in, balanced portfolio with my equity guy.
Okay.
And then let's start looking at, commercial stuff, or, look for the right investments you could put money into with some other partners and
Mhm.
grow that money.
So to my detriment in some areas, and then other areas, I've done quite well. But I've always been the one that of the mindset that get it in, get it out. Make that big change, get it out in the streets. Because if it's sitting there and it's
Earning
not working
nothing.
for you, it's earning nothing.
Right.
And I don't want to feel
Likely to
fat
spend
and
it.
happy. I don't want to feel fat and happy.
Right.
Right. And for me, like I said, sometimes that didn't work because I made some foolish
Yeah.
investments as a younger man. But as I have a family with younger kids
Mhm.
and a wife who's a few years my younger, I know that I can't make those same mistakes like I made before. So much of it that I've done recently over the last few years have been real estate related,
Mhm.
and we're in great markets. And then those endeavors that I've invested in that aren't in real estate are with people that are really, really good at what they do in an
Mhm.
industry that they are
Yeah.
championing. An example would be, Brandon with Canteen and Cantina. And, that's something where you invest in somebody that, have, they
Yep.
have those stripes on the wall, that they're at the pinnacle at what they do, and
Mhm.
you trust them, with
Mhm.
those investments. And then you spread or what I have is you put some here. I mean, in a rock crushing company, for God's sake.
Mhm.
I've got a lot of money
Oh, that's
invested
right.
in a rock crushing company in West Texas. Now, what I did out in West Texas and Eastern New Mexico, boy, that was painful in a lot of ways, right? But it helped build
I don't know how you
relationships.
did that.
I don't know how I did
And
it either,
do
man.
your originating too.
Even just talking about it, I
Back and
just start
forth,
to,
family
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah. But what it did is I had a choice. Either let it kill you or you kill it, right?
Right.
And if it's not going to kill you, help it make you stronger.
Mhm.
And that was the only choice that I had. And was it hard as hell? Yes. Did you
Well,
still?
you were on the hook for some stuff.
I
That
was on the
was
hook for some stuff,
so
and
you
I
gotta
stepped out there
yeah.
and put it on the chopping block,
Yeah.
and and it's either it gets chopped off or you move it real fast,
Yeah.
But point being is that you then make relationships with other people in the industries that they specialize in,
Yeah.
and the rock crushing company, or the apartments that we have out there, or the shipping container housing,
Yeah.
that are associated, in that industry of oil and
Mhm.
gas, where it's like, okay, you know what, those are throwing off some nice returns.
Yeah.
Those cap rates are awesome, or the rock crushing company is growing
Mhm.
exponentially. So it's where for me that is relevant for you is your investment strategies.
Mhm.
Right now you said that you're taking advantage of the traditional 401ks, of course, and
Yeah.
I'm sure First United
Max
does
that
some sort of a
out.
match. Okay,
Roth IRA.
okay. What
Um,
else are you doing?
just saving tons. Really.
So is it in a cash account? Are you
It's in a
keeping
cash
okay?
account, and then we're going to start
Anything in CDs?
No, nothing right now.
Okay.
But we're going to start actually putting that into investment vehicles here starting next year. I'm kind of waiting to see what happens with our stock market here and see if we're going to.
Man, it seems like it's a wait and see, especially with this economy the way it
but
is.
but not do speculative kind of stuff. Invest in blue chip companies that do
Okay. That throw off dividends,
dividends
and
key
then
is
don't worry about
balance.
you don't worry about the value of the stock. If it's throwing
Right.
off dividends and has for
I'm
you
thinking
know,
Tesla might be a buy
Tesla,
long term.
Coca-Cola is a great example. Just a stable,
Sure.
brand. The brand is there and they throw off dividends.
Sure.
Maybe it's a 4% dividend, but then whatever the stock is, and you don't worry about that,
Mhm.
right? And if you can have some, whatever your portfolio structure is like, have some, 25% here, 30% there, 15% there. What about real estate? Yeah, I mean, you're in this world.
Well, we've got our house.
Yeah.
So the next step would be to probably, look at buying an investment property. Or
Would you do single family, or would you do multifamily, or open to?
probably single family, unless you can find some, some multi-unit kind of stuff.
Mhm.
That's where you can get, the kind of tenants you want to have in there.
Yep.
So
Well, and also in the right environment, like through
Mhm.
COVID, you had some multifamily housing and even single family housing where, you've got to pay the mortgage on the loan.
Mm-hmm.
The people aren't, the state laws or whatever the local laws are allowing for them to be able to live rent free without paying you because of COVID.
That's scary.
That is scary,
Yeah.
right? And so that's something that we have to always keep in mind as
Mhm.
well. But I'm as you know from my portfolio, I'm heavy in real estate because that is something that some of it is dirt. Yeah, you can't
Right.
take that dirt away from me.
Right.
As far as I know, at least in
Right.
this country, you can't. I have title to it, and short-term rentals. I don't know if that's something that you're going to get into
Mhm.
or not. But so, what about those people? Just pivoting, just for a minute here, people that have been inspirational in your life, right? Whether it's people currently that you
Mhm.
look up to, and you go, man, that guy or that gal is an absolute inspiration to me, whether it's in business or whether it's from a personal
hmm
perspective?
I mean, I would probably say, like, name that a person in general.
Yeah, yeah, a couple of people, just whomever, just
I
who
would
comes
say
to mind?
Joe Longton.
Okay.
You know, he's a customer of mine, but
And
we
and who
also have
is
a
he? Who is you? I know who
he's
he is,
a
but
he's a top agent with Sotheby's.
mhm.
You know, I think he's platinum or not? Is he no Elite 25? Yeah,
Yeah,
Elite
Elite
25.
25.
Uh,
He represented the, people that bought my house.
that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
That's right.
and you did the loan
That's
for
right.
him. Yeah.
No, he's become one of my dearest friends. But I mean, he's a hell of a mentor. He's real into personal development, and you know, we've developed a really unique friendship. You know, besides taking care of his customers on loans,
And
and you know,
he's like he's on the
Mhm.
backside of his career also, isn't he in his
Yeah, he's
70s?
71, I think, or
Unbelievable.
72.
And
But
he's
I mean,
still crushing it, right?
crushing it. But he has energy of a 16-year-old. You
Okay.
know,
Okay.
so he's probably got another 5 years in him. He's probably
Oh,
going to hang it up. So he's got
okay.
to, he's got to make his whatever that number is for him.
What is
You
that?
know,
Yeah, it's this always seems like
yeah,
that number, that target's
yeah,
always moving. What
yeah.
is it about him that inspires you?
He is the most positive human being. He always tries to find a way when there's a situation going on, especially if we have a deal, whatever. He just doesn't. He just grinds away to figure out a solution. He
Mhm.
just and he believes in the uh, what's the power of I forgot the what do you call it thing where I'll get back to that. But
Yep.
he's uh just the most positive, encouraging person. And
Mhm.
the reason I choose him is because he I had a deal from him that I saved him on, and
Okay.
that was the first, like, big agent that I ever became got locked in with and did a deal when and saved the day to make the deal work,
Yeah.
and that was, like, my catalyst into the higher end agents and, making myself believe in myself that I can go out there and chase after the bigger fish
Yeah.
in the market,
Okay.
you know?
That's in
Mhm.
so he inspires you. He's a realtor, so he's in your sphere. So
Mhm.
which is helpful for you because y'all get to kick deals back and forth, refer
Right.
clients back and forth, but also
Absolutely.
the quality time. Yeah, I know that Ed is an inspiration for you as well.
By far.
Ed Salter.
Yeah, he's one of the greatest. I talk to him every single day, you
Okay.
know?
And he's at what, 64,
He is
65?
turning 65, I think, in January or
Okay.
February.
And again, I
January.
think is there starting to become a common theme here that I mean, from that perspective that they're almost like big brother types?
They are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Ed's a natural at it.
Yeah.
He means so well. He's a great teacher, you know?
Mhm.
Um, he is super smart with his money. I mean, I've
Mhm.
learned a lot from him in terms
Okay.
of where to put money and what to
Mhm.
invest in and what to stay away from,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
I mean, I can't say enough good things about the guy. He's
What
awesome.
about from a female perspective? Would you consider what did you learn from your ex-wife Melissa from a business perspective?
She's one of the hardest working human beings. I've never met anybody like her. That girl can grind away, and our son is just like her,
Mhm.
which is great. So that's why his golf is just
Yep.
out of this
Mhm.
world. But
Mhm.
I would say Melissa. I mean, uh, she's a one of a kind person. You know, I
Mhm.
love her to death.
Mhm. And
Great
y'all have
for
stayed really close friends
we
through all
have
of this. Yeah.
the times where we nod is a lot of immaturity on both sides.
Yeah.
You know. And that,
Mhm.
so a lot of the dark days of Jim Jordan, were
Mhm.
self-inflicted,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we're not mature enough. You're not gonna, the light's not gonna go off and go,
Mhm.
oh,
Mhm.
maybe you should stop doing that. Might have a better relationship with her, you know?
But would you say
So
that that relationship through the transition that y'all had, going through the divorce and then raising a
mhm.
child together, what was that like?
It was tough
Yeah.
because we have different philosophies, and Melissa likes to do things her way and doesn't
Mhm.
like to, my way didn't really seem to matter, and that's my opinion or whatever. But
Mhm.
she does care.
Yeah.
But
Well, most
yeah,
wives will say that
but
your
it was
opinion doesn't
tough. I
matter.
mean, we moved to Dripping Springs because we wanted to be in Hayes for
Yep.
school and
Yep.
smaller, and that's been rough because I've missed out on a lot of time with Alex because he's at
Mhm.
Westlake and he comes down maybe once or twice a month and
Mhm.
I try to go to the golf tournaments and see him
Mhm.
there. But you know, overall we've done a really good job. He's a great kid.
Mhm.
We could have done a lot better job of getting along, in the
Yep.
early years.
So what guidance, what advice would you give to the younger, your younger self, right? If you had it
Sure.
do over again.
Um, Number one, be in the moment. Number two, quit worrying so much and getting depressed on where you're not at and thinking, always living in the future. Like, as soon
Mhm.
as I get here and I start making X, then it's all going to make sense. And of course, I
Mhm.
went and got to that place and beyond. And guess what? It didn't work,
Uh-huh.
you know?
Yeah.
And, and just wherever you are, be there, be in the moment. You know, like Eckhart Tolle says, you know, don't have a bad relationship with the present moment. That's really the issue. If you really think about it, if your situation sucks, you're in the shit or whatever is going on or
Yeah.
whatever, it's how you choose to react to it. And I've done a terrible job most of my life, you know, expecting everything to be perfect, you
Mhm.
know, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
And you can find plenty of perfect within the imperfect, you know, if you just
Yeah.
focus on, okay, what can I actually change and affect today? And I'm not going to worry about the things I can't change.
Yep.
And I would have done a better job of that, you know.
Okay.
And I'm trying to tell my son this all the time. And he seems to be doing a lot better. I mean, he's 17. I was definitely not mature like he is at 17. He's so focused on golf,
Yep.
lives at the golf course.
Yep.
I mean,
And and he's a
and
stud in the
he's yeah, I
classroom
don't worry about
also.
him partying and, you know,
Yep.
getting called from the cops in the middle of the
Mhm.
night, you know, someone's arrested for drunk driving. I mean, none of that, you know.
Mhm.
And so, and part of it is I shared so much about my crazy stuff
Mhm.
that it kind of helped
Could
him go,
because y'all
okay,
have a really open
we do.
relationship and conversation. Like, I feel like they from what I can understand, from what I see, he could tell you anything.
I'm telling you, anybody who has kids that are young, you should be talking to them, and whatever you're thinking about, you should just openly talk about it with the client, with your kid, in terms
Mhm.
of, look, you know, there's all these pills. They're
Mhm.
all in parties. Your best friend's going to be high as a kite on that one. There's one left, and guess
Mhm.
what? That one left in the pocket is the one that kills you.
It's the one that has
You know,
the
I think
fentanyl
you
in it.
literally
Yeah.
have to tell this is how the world is. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm worried sick because of Ella Grace, because of like Instagram and all this stuff, and all this
Mhm.
stuff you hear about, you know, these girls that are, you know, depressed because they start looking at like anorexic women
Yep.
and or much thinner, and I don't look like that, and you
Mhm.
know, and I'm worried sick about that. But the way I'm going to combat it is I'm going to actually show her the shit.
Yep.
I go, look, this is mental dysfunction right here. You
Okay, yep.
understand?
Uh-huh.
And really do my best to explain so she has some perspective with her young brain, that she goes, okay, I know that my identity is not caught up in that
Mhm.
nonsense. And, you know, I can be friends with some crazy fun friends, but it's okay if they don't want me around all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got lots of friends, and, you
Uh-huh.
know, I love who I am,
Yep.
you know, and I mean, I think about it all the time because
And the
it's going to be a
same
different animal with a girl.
so for you, whenever your younger self, you struggled with that a little bit, I'm hearing you
Yeah,
say.
because
Mhm.
the self-esteem was really low.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And why was that?
It goes back to childhood. It goes back,
Okay.
it just, you know, you could say nothing really significant happened
Yeah.
necessarily, you know? Um, uh, it's just how you're wired. I mean, there's
Mhm.
bipolarism on my mom's side
Mhm.
of the family. My sister
Okay.
has a touch of it.
Okay.
I certainly have a touch of, I wasn't diagnosed with that, but I mean, you know, I definitely have the roller coaster, you know?
Mhm.
And so there's addictive personality from that, I
Okay.
think. And so that
Okay.
was made it easy for me to seek, you know, things to give me relief,
Mhm.
you know? And some things actually do well, and but some of the things I chose were detrimental.
Well, you've come out on the other side, and I think for
Oh, big time.
being a parent and understanding that and
Mhm.
recognizing it and being on the other side, it's allowing you to
I
be
think it's
able to.
important to share it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not embarrassed by it one bit. It's actually made me who I am right now in terms of how I think about myself, you know?
Mhm.
And do
And
I have
embracing
days
it.
where I have days where I'm like, I worry because I have an addiction
Yeah.
of all these years of worrying, and, you know, and I'm really trying to work hard at, like, you know, life's good. Life is good. And a lot of times it is.
Yeah.
But, you know, when I have a stressful situation, I have a tendency of still going down the dark rabbit hole
Yep.
of, oh my, no, it's not that big of a deal. We're going to fix
Mhm.
this, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
So I'm a work in process.
Yeah. Aren't we all?
Progress. Yeah.
Yeah, and
You know?
you may be a work in process also.
Yeah.
It
Work
may
in
be
process.
progress. Yeah. Well, man, I want to thank you for coming on our show today.
Man, thanks for having me.
You know, like I said, you know, you're an inspiration to me. You're a great man. You're a great friend. Fantastic
Same to you.
father. You know, and your kids and Alex, you know, especially, you know, you have a pretty good idea of what type of an individual somebody is when their teenager wants to hang out
Mhm.
with you. Yeah, when they could be doing a lot of other things.
Right?
And I know, for me as a parent, that I think that's at the end of the
Hopefully your
day.
kids will wanna hang out with you 'cause you'll be
That's what I'm
old.
saying. Yeah, I'll be old. They'll be hanging out with me because 'cause they'll be changing my bedpan,
Oh,
right?
no. Don't count on that.
Man, you keep crushing it, right? And you know, and we're gonna run, you know, side by side and in life. And man, I appreciate your
I
friendship and
appreciate you too. Thanks.
appreciate your fellowship,
Yep.
brother.
Got it, brother.
Talk to you
Thank you.
soon. You got it.
Good to see you.
Yeah.